Meeting to order. My name is Charlie Trombetta. I'm the chairman. The ad hoc is for the proposed regulation of signs on city property. Also joining me on the committee is Colleen Stanley and Fred Visconti. Les Pinter, Corporation Counsel, Sean Harity for Planning and Zoning, Dennis Halpern from the Planning Director, Sean Stillman, Unit, and ex officio Cheney, Snap, and Rotello. Okay, first of all, I'd like to, I guess the petitioner is actually Mayor Boughton, and I want to clear up exactly what we have an ordinance already for signage, and I'm going to throw this to Les. Do you know what the exact reasoning? Are we looking at enhancing this ordinance, or I know the mayor, I have spoken to the mayor, and there's been some complaints regarding real estate post signs, and is that what we're looking at?
That's what I asked the mayor about this yesterday. That's what he mentioned to me that that's what he was targeting, if you will, for the committee to consider that kind of signage. But he makes it broader in the letter. So I think that would be let's say the specific focus here. And then outside of that, he was also concerned with other forms of items, if you will, on city property, right-of-ways, sidewalks, things like that. So yeah, I think you're right, Charlie. That was what he did mention to me, that kind of signage.
Okay, now, as far as an ordinance that we have in place, which Councilman Visconti passed along to us, wouldn't there be some type of issue that is addressed in this zoning, in this ordinance already?
I think what you have, if I'm not mistaken, is a copy of the zoning regulations pertaining to signage, and that covers, others can speak to that better than I can, but the zoning ordinance, the zoning regulations cover a variety of signage issues. Other than the zoning regulations, the city has a little scattering of restrictions on placement of items on city property, right, really street sidewalks. And there's some other general law that applies as well. But signage as such, just the four-letter word, if you will, sign, is addressed largely in these regulations.
Okay, because it just seems like such a broad undertaking, because I'm really confused on, are we talking mainly and specifically of those, real estate signs that are put on the corner of a piece of property, with city property, pointing that a house is for sale, say on my street, which is on the corner of my property. But I want to throw it to Sean, or have you had any complaints, or what are we looking at? What type of signs?
We've got notorious sections in the city that real estate signs tend to pop up, like Coal Pit Hill Road and down towards Bethel. There's an island there that grows them. The problem here, like if a real estate sign goes up, I don't know whether it's on city property or private property unless I have maps of that area. And I think the complaint came through again saying the real estate signs being put on property that they don't belong there. That house isn't for sale. Mm-hmm. Again, I can't check that. I mean, it's more along the lines, we've always had real estate signs out there, and they've kind of been one of those things that were non-permitted signs. You can put them out there for sales. But the city property, we don't police the city property. The zoning doesn't apply to the city property as far as, except for line of sight restrictions. If we do see something that's dangerous, we take it down. You know, we take it down, or we'll call them, it gets removed, or worst case scenario, we send the highway department out there, and they'll yank them. But it's always a problem, because they're so volatile. I mean, they're in flux all the time. Real estate signs are going everywhere, depending on the property that's sold. So it's a big undertaking to find out exactly where they're supposed to be, if you get my drift.
Yeah, can you do me a favor? About 8 years ago, my Allstate sign was taken. I never found it. You spent a lot for that. That's all right. I just wanted to get
We usually call the people that do it, and usually gets taken down right away. But it just happens again and again and again, because they want to sell the house.
Yeah.
It's just the nature of the beast.
And I see the issue. I mean, I had so many people pull my driveway once thinking my house was for sale, and it was on the corner of my property, Barnum and Wellington, and you know, people were pulling up asking me about my house, and it wasn't for sale. So I understand the issue. What's that? I took an offer. They lowballed me. Freddie or Colleen, any?
If that's all this meeting pertains to, I don't have any issues. The only questions I had weren't raised, so fine with me, as long as we're not talking about the business, what do they call them, business signs? You know, the signs at the job
Well, those are
signs or
temporary.
what have you. Temporary signs.
Yeah, those temporary. I think we're not talking about like French.
No, you asked me, the question was real estate signs, so.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to hear from Mr. Harity if there's any other issues that he wants to maybe include in this petition from the mayor. I mean, obviously, we're not here about a few real estate signs. There's got to be other issues that you have concerns with. I just wanted to know about them, see if they're included in the...
Like I said, I mean, signs themselves are always a consistent problem we have dealing with the temporary. Temporary signs are not permitted in the city of Danbury. You'll get a section of a roadway, let's say No Plain Road, one goes up. If we don't hit it quick enough, I've got 10 up. So when I send a zoning officer out there, he's got to sweep the whole road. So it's a big time burn for us. We do have things that are in place as far as fines go, but there has to be a warning, and then there's a 7-day grace period, and then the fines go into effect. So then the signs are removed. All my actions are negated. They're all for naught. So it's more of it's based on the economics of the business. Sync feels that they really need it. We did send mailers out to sign company says, please do not sell these signs because they're not permitted in the city. But it comes down to economics again. So it's every so often, every 6 or 7 weeks, the signs come out again, and we got to hit it again. So it's a constant battle, but I don't see it stopping just because it's people thinking they are getting more business by putting out this small sign. So it's kind of tough to deal with. But that's the major problem. Everything else is permitted. If it's not permitted on your property with a permit for a sign, you can't have it. The only place we allow temporary signs to go down, those little sandwich signs, is on the city center area, which is the CCBD. You can put on your property, you can put a portable sign up, but that's the only place that's permitted in the city of Danbury.
And that's already an ordinance that...
These are just regulations.
It's regulations.
Yes, regulations, not ordinances.
Freddie?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And excuse me, Dennis, feel free to, if you need to, Dennis.
Through the chair, Mr. Alpern.
Yes.
Could you shed a little bit more light on this? Because if you're talking signs, you're talking all kinds of signs.
A couple of things. I didn't realize what the nature of the petition was. Can I see that?
Sure.
That would have helped me. Here.
Temporary sign.
Okay. Well, he's speaking here of signs and rights of way. I don't see real estate signs in this letter.
Right.
Okay. Okay. And that's great because not great, but that's good because you cannot regulate signs based on content. That's clear by law. Okay, you can talk about all kinds of other things, placement, size, illumination, those kinds of things, but you cannot say you can have a sign that only says this kind of thing or a sign that only says that kind of thing.
So they could have any you can sell hot dogs or whatever it may be.
Well, you can't sell hot dogs in a residential sign period, so anyway. Okay, as far as signs in rights of way, they are prohibited. And the restriction from 86 says, all signs located within or projecting over public lands and rights of way, except as permitted herein. Wow, what's permitted herein? Signs located within or projecting over public lands and rights of way which are approved by the city or other appropriate governmental jurisdictions, state, federal, and which meet all conditions of such approvals. So all these signs you see out here in the rights of way, typically between the sidewalks and the curb, are illegal unless they've been specifically approved. So then it's just a matter of enforcement. And I noticed today, I noticed it every day on my way into work, we have a whole pile in the back of signs that have been picked up along the way. And it just continues. It's you know, it's a very difficult enforcement issue because they're constantly springing up. We all see them. And they're all illegal. Now, the reason we allow approval by the city in public rights of way or over public lands or rights of way are for things like holiday signs, banners, the race is coming, that kind of thing, Merry Christmas, all those kinds of things. That gives us the ability to allow that kind of thing. But typically what we find are these temporary signs for open houses, political signs. Some guys don't take them back after the election. Those kinds of things that spring up all of, and like I said, it's primarily an enforcement problem, and we could probably, Sean could probably spend half his time just going around pulling signs.
Through the chair, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Through the chair to Mr. Alpern, when you say right of way on residential property or really any property, what is the amount of footage? I know you said between a curb and a sidewalk, the little strip
Well,
of
whatever
grass.
the right of way is.
Now, it's different on every street? Is it different
Yeah.
on main streets? Is it different on side streets?
Exactly.
And how much of a person's property, say, my house?
Well, it's not setback.
I'm just curious
Okay.
because of
It
drive
is,
times.
it is rights of way. In most cases, you're gonna find a right of way between the sidewalk and the curb, a little grass strip.
Oh, so it's just a right of way,
Yeah.
not setback?
Not all, right, not all the time, but I would say most of the time you're gonna find them there. And you're gonna find them on these little islands that we have around town.
Mhm.
I have one where I go home, pass every day, and it's always.
Okay, through the chair to Mr. Pinter. In this ordinance that we already have, where it says portable signs, they are permitted? I thought Sean said they were not permitted. They are permitted?
Only in the CCBD, Central Business District.
I don't see where it says.
That's not an ordinance, that's a regulation.
It's regulation, yeah.
That's just for CCTV? Okay. And so they're only permitted there, so we make an allowance for just the CCTV district. Now, if, through the chair to Mr. Alpern, if it's a temporary sign on personal property, is that an issue?
Usually there's a clause in there, Dennis, if you don't mind, there's a clause in there that's less than 6 square feet, typically a property like, football drive for your school or something like that. Usually we just leave it alone as long as it's back from the line of sight, or, St. Gregory's Carnival or something like that. If it's on private property, you push it back. There's an exemption for that, to do something like that, or to put a political sign or something like that we don't actually police. Besides that, anything else is more line of sight. Is it a safety issue for these vehicles?
Right.
And we do have a provision on that.
Yeah.
You just said that you can't.
Can regulate content. So what we have is an overall square footage limitation per property. All right. And when you think about just in your own home what you could have, you've got, as by the definition, your street address on your house. The name, your name, maybe, Collins Danbury's residence. All right. Political signs, people paste stuff on their windows. as a sign, and so on. Now, we'd go crazy if we tried to regulate each and every one of those, and you probably run into problems because now you're regulating content.
Right.
So we say, okay, we've got an overall limit, that's it.
So what you're saying, if it's political signs, you can only have one in your yard?
You can have as many as fits into the limitation, which I think is 6 square feet.
6 square feet.
In residential.
But we don't enforce that, we know throughout, I mean, so is that why we're here tonight? To
Some
stop
of those
that?
signs, some of the political signs are considerably larger than 6 square feet.
Yeah.
6 square feet is only 2 by 3.
Mhm.
It's not that big, right?
Well, I made, okay,
4x8.
through the chair to
The big ones usually 4x8.
Mr. Alpert. I made a few phone calls to some of the contractors in the area to see how they felt about it, and they weren't happy. They thought that by not allowing job signs, that Danbury wasn't being supportive of small businesses. They also, I spoke with one in particular that said that they use their job signs and they find it as a safety issue. This particular company, and I don't want to mention any names because he didn't tell me that I could use his name and I didn't know we were going to be taped, but he said he uses it as a safety issue when he has his trucks with trailers and large equipment, when he sends a driver out to drop off large equipment when they're installing a pool or what have you. He said he uses it as a safety issue because then his drivers know exactly where the location is that they need to be dropping off the equipment, and that it alleviates them having to turn around and keeps their drivers' eyes on the road and not looking for street numbers on houses. So it is helpful in a way. This is what I was told by a contractor. And also, I think I had another
I don't know if
question.
that's true.
That's just what he said. I mean, that's just his opinion. But I did make some calls and I was aware, you know, after talking to several of the contractors in the area that do use job signs, they were a little upset that they thought that Danbury wasn't being very supportive of their small business, especially during these economic times where they need to possibly just, and it does help also the taxpayers that are in the area who may say, oh, so-and-so, hey, I'm in the driveway business. So if my company happens to put a sign out, the neighbor across the street may call up and say, hey, you know, they can save money doing it that way. So there's a lot of things that are involved in the small signs, also the political signs. I don't know if we're ever going to stop that.
But
I think
Mr.
this-
Chair, are we talking about, I'm sorry, job signs on private property, Colleen, not on public property? right?
Well, some of the, not on city property, of course, but I was more concerned about the right-of-way. That's where I was
Yeah, but
concerned.
the right of way, I think that,
Well, he did tell me that right-of-way.
yeah, right, as opposed to a setback, but if XYZ company is putting up a fence, for instance,
Right.
and you put it in the private property on the front lawn or whatever, I don't think there's an issue to that. There really isn't even an enforcement
I just want to
issue.
make sure that that's clear.
Yeah, no, I understand. And that's the way I'm interpreting it.
It seems, Mr. Chairman, largely the issue seems, I think, the thrust of the mayor's letter, as I think about it, and the discussion is that he's looking for a way to avoid the proliferation of obstructions on these city locations. I mean, not so much the private, it's covered different
What
ways.
kind of obstructions?
Obstructions, which include signs, which would block views, which would be, if there's too many signs, it would block people's crossing the street, it would be an aesthetic issue, that kind of thing. But again, the focus being on city property. And you have a couple of pieces of law, including some general statute law, that assists you in being able to regulate your own property. Okay, the city's entitled to regulate property it owns through either action by the common council, the city council, by ordinance, or by other enactment. You happen to have a 1925 ordinance that's been around for a long time, which is very generic, but nevertheless, as Dennis, I think correctly said, probably the key thing he said was that it's a matter of enforcement. You have law now that permits people in the city to go out and remove obstructions from city property. Okay, so that's in place. It's just a question of, enforcing that kind of thing.
Well, as far as signs that interfere with traffic safety, and they are prohibited. Signs so arranged that they interfere with traffic safety by creating glare, by violating corner lots visibility, by blocking unreasonable sight lines for streets and driveways, or creating confusion with traffic control devices by reason of their color, location, shape, or other characteristics. Those are all prohibited. But I don't know that we prohibit contractor signs.
If the contractor's on the site doing work, we usually leave the sign alone until the job's done.
Yeah.
By nature, as long as it's back, you know, it's not a hazard, we don't really pull them from the jobs. I've never pulled a sign from a contractor doing work. Actually, it sometimes helps us with the inspectors that are going through.
Yeah, they can find it easier.
It's not that, but any advertising that's off-site on a city right of way is also in our regs, so you can't have off-site advertising. So it's the commercial message is what we're chasing. We're not chasing, you know, those little messages that towns usually do, communities do. It's the commercial message we chase around. Like, you know, free siding, and they're put all over the place around back.
We buy houses.
Yeah, we buy houses. I mean, stuff like that.
Taekwondo.
But it's a commercial message. You understand?
I don't have, through the chair, I have no problem with the city regulating the city property. But I do have a problem if the city wants to start regulating what residents want to do on their property.
No.
And I don't.
And as long as it's clear and on record, I don't have a problem with making sure that we don't put signs on city property that shouldn't be there.
Chair wants to recognize
Right?
Mr. Cheney.
Thank you again to the chair. I think we have two issues here. The zoning commission's main job is to regulate private property. That's what they do. And I believe what this committee can do is maybe make a recommendation to Dennis and the zoning commission to review their signage regulation, make it clarified more better to what's allowed and what's not allowed through the zoning commission. I think that's one part. The public right away, that's in the city's council purview, and I think we need to do that by an ordinance. I don't believe the zoning regulations have any effect on city property, because again, it's public. The council overviews the city property. We can do that by ordinance. We can't create a regulation for the zoning commission. We can't tell the zoning commission, you know, we don't like your sign or regulation and we want to change by ordinance. The way we're always stepping our bounds to the zoning commission. That's their purview. What we need to do is look at our sign ordinance, which is from 1925. I think we need to address that issue as a council. What do we want allowed on our city right-of-ways? I mean, it's a problem. And the problem is not necessarily putting them up. It's the problem of taking them down. And I think what we need to do, through the chair, I guess, look at what we do with other situations, like the news boxes, for example. Well, we allow that through permit. So if a charity or something wants to use city property, they would need to go see the permit department, pick out some type of regulations that we want to put up signs in these following locations. It's from this date and I'm the person of contact. So if there's a problem with a sign being right where it's supposed to, Sean will know who to contact and tell them to take it down, especially when the event is over. I mean, we had the Lebanese festival, we had all these festivals, the signs are still up. And you can go around town. I mean, we're all part of organizations. We all get signs that here's a bunch of signs. Have fun. Go out and put them out where you want. There's no regulation on that, and there's no enforcement. It's not fair to our city to go out and chase these people down. And when you put one sign up on an island, it's not just one sign. It's 5 signs. For example, the Taste of Danbury on West Street, Worcester, and Deer Hill. There's 4 signs on that little island with arrows, and they're still up. So I think we need to regulate. I mean, we don't want to prevent it, but we need to regulate. Fine, if you want to put it there, we can say, well, you can only put 1 or 2 signs per acre, or whatever we want to do. Start and end, and you're the person of contact. If you violate this, if you see them up 2 months afterwards, well, next time you want to do it, we're going to die. I think it's the same thing with real estate signs. If you want to put a real estate sign there, we'll regulate it, or it's strictly prohibited. You cannot put any for-profit signs on city property. Forbidden. It's in our ordinance. It's clearly spelled out. Or a nonprofit can do it if they apply through proper channels, which can help the permit department regulate it a little bit. So I think that's something that you might want to consider. Otherwise, there's nothing for us to do. We already have the ordinance.
Right. through the chair, that's exactly what I was gonna say, we have something in place already. I mean, this is the second time this committee's met, and we're not getting anywhere with this. And I would think that at this time, that we would have had something in place, something, if there's an issue that's not being addressed in the regulations that we have now, it should be brought to us here. I'm not gonna write the law, or I'm not gonna write the ordinance, or change the regulations. I need to know what's needed in writing. I would feel more comfortable seeing it in writing from the professionals. Am I right?
Yeah,
Or are we supposed to, tonight, is
well,
that our call right now?
That was my original point. The original petition is just too broad an issue.
It seems like it's all taken care of right here already.
It's very broad.
Yeah, I was confused, like nowhere in the petition where we talk, is the mention of real estate signs. Nowhere in the petition are we talking about private business on private property. So there's so many different issues and so many different areas of the signage problem that I'm confused too when I'm the chairman.
The regulations as they're written with signage, I mean, there's a few little holes in there, but it's pretty broad paint as far as allowing us to enforce a prohibited sign. We always have the off-site advertising clause that we can apply. However, it's going to come back, no matter what ordinance you do, it's going to be an enforcement issue. Who's going to pull these big signs out? And once I get one sign, I'm going all over the city chasing other signs because it's he said, she said thing. I've got one down there. Did you see one on South Street? So logistically, it's tough to enforce just with bodies. We don't have enough bodies to do something like that.
Right. Yeah.
So we try to apply it when we do. We get the complaint, we remove them. We try to be fair when we're applying the codes or the regulations. But it's not something that's going to be another ordinance I don't think is going to fix. That's just my opinion. The regulations do deal with a lot of different signage. You read through them. Obviously, they're kind of complicated when you go into them.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to modify things to suit city centers needs and suit residential needs and certain commercial needs and put everybody on a fair footing. So our whole thing is when we do these real estate signs, we will take them down, but it takes some time to get them done. And then they're down. 2 weeks go by, they back up again. Maybe a different company sees, oh, there's an opening. I'm going to put it in there. So you keep on calling the real estate companies saying they're not permitted there. Mm-hmm. Our priority, however, is focused on the commercial aspects with zoning right now to make sure everybody's on the fair footing. Nobody gets to get more advertising than the other person does. So we're kind of split between what we want to enforce with the limited resources we have. But the regs itself, I think, are broad enough. It's just it's an enforcement issue. I think Dennis is right. It's an enforcement issue, and there's only certain things we can do during the day.
Right.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I don't think anybody here tonight can deny that we're overrun with signage in the city. But again, looking what the mayor wants to do here, or is suggested to do here, then looking, and I haven't had a chance to go through the whole regulations, but I think, and I hate to call for another meeting, but I really don't know how to make a motion as to how to approach this, because it's so broad of an issue. What do you do about tag sales? What do you do about the stuff on the telephone poles advertising shows all over? Now that that's coming up, that's another thing. And even political signs. You put them up, but again, they don't get taken down. Any type of signage. I just think it's a very broad issue, and I don't want to toss it back to Dennis or to the corporation council.
I'll tell you why. Robin Edwards, the assistant corporation counsel, and I revamped these sign regulations about 5 years ago. It's an enormous undertaking. You have no idea how complicated it is because there are so many different kinds of signs.
Exactly.
All right, you mentioned a couple. You mentioned tag sales.
Tag sales.
Yeah, how about beware of dog? I mean, it goes on and on and on. And it's like there's Chinese boxes, you know. You solve one, you open it up, and my God, there's another one. You open it up, and there's another one. But not only that, but regulations are coming down that limit the extent to what you can regulate locally. And as I mentioned, you cannot regulate on the basis of content. And that's a real problem. If you wanted to help people, it's a problem. You put, let's say you have a home occupation, you want to put a little plaque on your house or a little sign, little thing. Well, That's a sign. But then you also have your beware of dog sign, and then you have, you know, the name of, you know, the property, and this and that, and they all start to add up. So what we did was we just said, okay, you got 6 square feet per residence, per sign face, 2 faces per sign, okay, if you're writing on both sides. And then you start thinking about, well, what about apartment complexes where you have a name at the entrance? Okay, so we had to address that. What about once you get in there, you got a little sign that says office, you know? So you gotta write something about that. And what about window signs, and what about flags? We have this enormous American flag out on Federal Road. Okay, and pardon me, but I'm not regulating American flags. I'm not going there. I'm not going there. Okay, as big as they want to be. What I'm trying to impress upon you is how complicated this becomes. And I don't think, I think, again, the issue here is an enforcement issue. I don't think Danbury is unique in this regard. You find it in all communities. People pop up little signs everywhere. Especially these little temporary real estate signs and so on. And they can stay there for a long time, of course. The contractor signs don't. I mean, I've had contractors come to my house, they put their little sign up.
And they take it back.
And then they, well, of course they take it
Yeah,
back
of
right
course.
away.
Yeah,
They're not
absolutely.
gonna leave it there.
Cost of money.
You know, I wrote the regs and I'm thinking, well, they didn't violate anything. So I wouldn't worry about that, but tell them, don't put it in it right away.
Right.
Yeah, that's the only thing.
Well,
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chairman. The city and the taxpayers are spending an awful lot of money on beautifying road intersections, islands, from design work to granite curbing, to routine maintenance, to weeding in the springtime and planting and fertilizing and watering. If you watch the guys down in Elmwood Park, you'll see a truck pull up, they'll water a couple of times a month or as needed. Fencing goes in, piping, granite, trees. Almost every downtown intersection from probably Fry's Corner to Main Street and beyond, now moving up White Street, has been the beneficiary of, at this point, millions in improvements. And we do that for a couple of reasons. I mean, we're not just doing it because we feel like doing it. We're doing it because, for one thing, we need the curbing and things like that to box in the streets for water flow. But we're also sending a message about Danbury. And the message is that Danbury is a community that is concerned about itself. It's like the old adage that the New York cops were doing 10 or 15 years ago, that if you pick up a coffee can, or if you pick up a coffee cup, or if you make sure the broken windows get fixed, it has a general tendency of reducing overall crime. That's one way of looking at policing your own property. If you make sure that the apple rinds and the straws and the bottles get picked up, people are less less apt to continue discarding material on it. You're not necessarily doing that with intersections, but what you're saying essentially is to the people in Danbury, look, we care about this stuff. And you're also saying to people who are coming to Danbury for the first time, or coming through Danbury, that Danbury is a city that has standards. If the scope of this committee may be a bit too large, I think one thing we should be able to agree on is that there is no place in these intersections that we're spending all this money on to have people piggyback on the taxpayers with for-profit signage. I mean, there were 4 of these signs on the Library Island between the split at West Street. One for soccer, 1-800-SOCCER, one for hot tubs, one for all internet. These are not local businesses. They're all like something.com stuff. I take them. I mean, you guys can throw me in the slammer, but I take them and they go right in my dumpster. The end of every highway exit at the 6th, they pop up. I'm not talking about cultural signs, and by that I mean an invitation to a community festival, like the Irish Festival, the Lebanese Festival, things were mentioned, or a high school play or something like that. That actually adds to the dialogue, and you see a sign, you're coming in from Ridgefield or something like that, thinking about maybe relocating to Danbury, and you see this sort of a neighborhood invitation on a nice landscape background. That's nice. What's not nice is to see crass commercial signage. It begins to make Danbury look like a community that I don't think we want it to look like. It starts to look like a Mideastern bazaar, and that may be fine in a bazaar setting. It may be fine at the farmer's market, but it's not really part of our culture. What I would like to see this committee do, and I don't want to, obviously I'm not on the committee, but it's going to come back to the council, which I am on. I would like to see at the very least us come up with something that makes it very clear that signs are simply not allowed on city property without permission. Now, Dennis seems to be saying that we already have that regulation, but then Ben says that that regulation will not apply because city property is somehow different. So perhaps Les can speak on that, but
Well,
I'll speak to that because it's
Okay.
already gone through Corporation Council.
Okay.
And yes, it's applicable to put that in the zoning regulations, but you have to enforce it. That's the problem. Now, one thing you might want to look at, Les, is to see if more than 2 individuals employed by the city of Danbury can pull signs that are in rights of way.
So,
You know,
through the chair.
2 or more?
Well, we only have 2 zoning enforcement
Oh,
officers,
I see.
okay, for the entire city. Now, we've already heard that Paul goes out and pulls these signs.
We can hire Paul.
And,
Well, that
and
is for
so
free.
is Don, so we have 2 violators.
That's for free.
listen, I always say you can have them back if you write me a letter of apology for putting them there in the first
Now,
place. Nobody's ever
What
taken me up on
What
that.
I'm suggesting is it possible that others would be eligible to do it? I go by, there's an island on my way home, it's at Southern and Mountville, and there's all these signs there. I would love to stop my car, pull those things out, throw them in the trunk and drive. All right, but I'm not a zoning enforcement officer. All right. Could other people be so empowered? Now, specifically though, for signs on city property. For signs on city property. Otherwise, I think you are interfering with the duties and responsibilities of the ZEO. But on city property, could police do it, for example?
Can I ask a question? We're sitting here, we're talking about all of this, we have this. Do we not have enforcement? Is it not in
You
here?
have, the zoning enforcement officer is the person charged with enforcing these regulations. He's also,
Sign buster button.
he's also theoretically,
Who you gonna call?
has the powers to remove signs from public property as well.
Are we
Where
talking
he's
about
assigned, but
Mr.
he
Harity, just in particular, just Mr. Harity?
So you could authorize others, unit, for example. You've authorized a unit over the years to do many things. Pick up litter, for example.
That's not zoning.
Sorry?
That's not zoning.
No, I'm saying, but they could authorize unit, for example, Sean's folks,
Well-
to do.
That, I think, would be worth looking into to see if that's possible. And again, I think you want to be careful here, that you're talking only about signs on public property.
I would take one on private property.
Never touch.
Not on private
I
property.
never would either.
Okay. And who else could help?
Take them off the telephone poles and that.
I don't think that Sean is going to feel as though anybody is taking power away from him. It's a, I mean, you know, it's just this constant thing, and there, and you know, and he's got huge projects that he's looking at and other things, and you know, people who call up and want answers and so forth. It's on my way, and you know, this is just another one of those things, and it's constant. It's always there, and you can never keep up. So a little help would go a long way.
Well, everyone raise their right hand and.
Well, I don't know the legal answer to that, but I think it's worth checking out. If the unit could do it, members of the unit, you know, they go out to neighborhoods and they see.
They do already, don't you? I see you pull the signs.
Yeah.
I do it all the time.
Well,
I
well,
know Sean
that's
does.
why I'm wondering,
Yeah.
why are we here?
I've asked
We
him to
have the
do it himself.
regulations, we're enforcing them, we call the unit. I know for a fact that the city employees pull out the signs, they pull them out. I mean, we got city workers that pull them out. Why are we here? It's in,
Well, what I'm trying to make it
what is the, I just don't understand why we just took
The
an hour,
distinction-
45 minutes, and we already have everything in place.
uh,
What can we do
we
to
must be
help,
missing
Brock?
something.
Tell me, what am I missing?
No, I think the pin signs are easy. Sean's authorized to pull the signs out and pull it across. We went over this a while ago, like
So
a
why
year
are
and a
we
half ago. We went
I,
over
I,
this. Yeah.
whenever, I'm sorry to interrupt, I've never done anything with those pin signs or anything without speaking with Sean first, knowing that it's his purview.
And that's great and fine, but the real estate signs are in there pretty good. So in order for me to get them out, it takes a little while. If they're a line of sight issue, one or two occasions, we did have the highway department yank them out, but that was rare. So we are enforcing it, but they're so easy to put back up again. And like you said, Councilman Tellez, give me a good point. A lot of .coms, I can't even cite them. I don't even know who they are.
Where are you gonna go?
I can't find them. So it's just one of those things. It's trash. It makes everything look bad.
So even if we were to fine them, you don't even know who they are, so
Can't
what are we
track
gonna
them
find? So what can we do here to help you? I wanna know what we can do to help you and to beautify our city for Mr. Rotella. I
Thank
just
you very
can't
much.
see what we're doing
Would you
here.
authorize the council?
Take them down?
No, seriously.
Side busters are us?
I wanna make your job easier.
Yeah,
What
could you
what can
authorize
we
a
do?
council person to have that
As
authority?
annotation, if somebody who wasn't authorized or who had an agenda pulled a sign out, that somebody was, that's where the zoning officer is impartial, he's working for the city. By empowering private people to do that, I don't know what they're pulling out and what they're not pulling out. You know what I'm saying? So it just leads to something, that's why I never went there.
And you do have to be careful about political signs.
Oh.
You have a political sign
What are we doing here?
in a right
Never
of
touch,
way.
never touch political
Yeah,
signs or
right.
private property.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Or nonprofits. Just those scuzzy
No, you
commercial.
can't make that kind of distinction. You cannot make that kind of distinction.
I
You
can
cannot
because I'm a
say-
scofflaw at
You
that.
cannot say,
You don't understand.
you cannot say that a commercial sign is all right to yank, but one for a community organization who we all like, and we think, you know, that one is fine to leave, that helps the community. You gotta be careful how you do this. That's all I'm saying.
I'll make a
The
note.
ordinance comes in.
Okay,
But the enforcement
together.
element,
You can
I
have,
need
because
it.
of content, let us know as soon as you see something go up, all right? We will get to it. So if the council wants to have some sort of a line, they can call in to either Sean or myself, that's fine. We'll get out there ourselves and we'll send assistance. Now, if it's a larger sign, it takes more time, notification, that has to be done.
why not the 311? I mean, I've called 311, left a message, and it was done within a day or two.
Yeah,
So-
that's
so
fine. I mean,
you know, we have something in place.
More eyes is the best thing we could
Yeah.
ask. Just give me more eyes.
And obviously, if we handle it by complaint, if a constituent calls in my ward and gives me a complaint, I'll call you.
And then
What else we can
Kelly,
do?
I think that's all.
I'm here, I wanna help. I do wanna help, I'm not.
Well, one thing you could do,
What can- If
one
I
thing you
see a
could do-
sign, I promise I'll
one
call
thing,
you.
one
Or call.
thing, Colleen, one thing you could do,
Done.
and one thing Fred could do, is go to your town commission,
Yes.
when elections come up and say,
Oh,
keep
we
your
do.
political signs out of the right of way.
That's exactly what.
Make sure
we're told.
everybody understands that.
Yeah, we do that.
I mean,
think-
that's
yeah.
not the bulk of the problem, but by the same token, you don't want to be pointing the finger at private sector when we're violating it ourselves.
That's-
Right, yeah, that's,
Okay, because that
Really right.
that becomes an issue of being.
I have a question,
yep, Fred.
if I may, I guess to Dennis. What about telephone poles and CLMP?
No, they're all illegal.
They're on city property, am I right or wrong?
Actually, that's a
That's
federal
the only-
violation.
That's yeah, they're not
Yeah.
even supposed to
I'll
do
be
that.
happy to,
Yeah, but that.
I just wanted a clarification.
Again, that's a problem of enforcement, you know.
I'll be happy to add on that. Telephone poles, street signs, lampposts, that's basically what I do. Mostly and almost entirely in conjunction to Mr. Patel's thoughts, just from the standpoint of the de-beautification of the city. It looks terrible. Just today, I emptied the back of my city blazer and filled up an entire trash can of posters, vinyl signs that are nailed, stapled, sometimes even bolted into telephone poles. I understand that's not city property. You're defacing private property and it's CLMP jurisdiction. But at the same time, it's also in our city and it looks terrible. A lot of times you see it about personal training signs, hot tub signs, concert signs, promoting certain locations. I've spoken with the police department and they actually have authority. I don't have the ordinance or the regulation handy, but they have the authority to issue a fine of up to $50 for each infraction. So we've yet to issue a fine, but we have been able to use that as a threat to one individual who's put signs up. I take them down, and in one case, you mentioned about the enforcement. I called him, it was a cell phone, I didn't know who it was. And I politely said, you have to take the signs down off of the telephone poles, they're not allowed to be up there. It's also a safety issue to the pole workers. Well, he cursed me for the remainder of the 5 minutes on the phone before he abruptly hung up on me and basically just told me to go blow. Well, I actually saw him in another town over 2 weeks later, climbing down off of a step ladder, and
Hipster,
so who it was, I got his license plate, and now I was able to personally meet with him and share with him the regulation with the police officer. He's not going to de-beautify our city again. He might be in Brookfield or Bethel, but he's not going to be in Danbury. So I take down signs from telephone poles all the time.
Through the chair to Sean, have you ever tried contacting CLMP? Because I know it is illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, they should be responsible for their poles and keeping them.
Try contacting them
Sign-free.
2 or 3 times, and each time I do, an automated system tells me that my approximate wait time is no less than 35 minutes. So, personally, I just don't have that time or patience to
Right,
wait.
I know, stuff.
In the meantime, I'm just gonna rip it down.
You look at those poles, there's 5,000 nails in
You
the
bet.
poles.
Bazillion staples, all that stuff.
How'd you go?
That was my other suggestion, almost tongue in cheek, although the more I think about it, you know, we have a lot of people who pick up cans and bottles around town, they take them down, they get.
Nickel deposit on signs, Dennis?
Absolutely.
I like it. I'll vote
Bring them
for
to
it.
City Hall and we will give you whatever we decide to give you.
Okay.
New business here.
Cheaper than paying Sean his elaborate salary.
Let's just sit there the rest of the night.
Well, it was just an idea.
What?
The motion going in.
There's nothing to make a motion on.
There's really nothing to, I don't know, do you have any suggestions? I don't know what you want to do here.
If I had something tangible in front of me from, Sean, that would help us make this.
I was wondering if you could just ask Corporation Council to see.
Well, thanks.
Certainly not
That's
planning and zoning department.
Charlie, can I get,
To see
Excuse me.
who besides the ZEOs could be authorized to pick up illegal signs. Now, apparently, the unit can, but I'm not
Off the telephone poles?
off of anything, any illegal sign. See how broad that is, see if it can be more than just CEOs that are on public property.
Well,
City
it's already in place,
It's in place.
in the sense, Dennis, that in the ordinance that presently exists, the engineering department, it says director of engineering, but the equivalent of that is authorized presently to remove obstructions from property, city property. So that implies that the engineering department, somebody can be designated in that, out of that department. As I understand, and I have to double check this, but I think in the citation section of our ordinances, this particular section authorizes the unit to do it now already. So in that way, we probably already have sufficient personnel that can be authorized to do this, except again, it goes back to enforcement. How much, like anything else, how much
Time and
time and
manpower.
resources can you spend on this? I think you pretty much have the right to do what you've been asked to do, which is take care of city property, make sure it's not obstructed, it's not signs or whatever all over the place. We can expand the existing ordinance if you wish to specifically designate certain people. It's not a problem, but I think you have a broad enough base right now where you can use the engineering department to designate officials. Some of them who, I don't know if Sean, you have an official from building, you have an official from zoning, you have an official from health, so all of those officials are in the scheme already.
What about the highway department?
So that's part of the engineering.
Yeah,
No, it's not part of engineering.
But they pull
Part of
aside
public
all the
works.
time.
Okay, fair enough, okay. You got it.
Highway department does take it.
See, in 1925, the engineering department was different from what it is today. I think if you interpret that same section today, you'd probably be able to broaden it out to include others within the public works sector.
Yes.
Can I just get clarification on a point? Does the city have the authority to remove signs from public property? I don't mean signs that are violating a sight line. I mean signs that are pushed back that would in a million years never violate a sight line but are not city signs. I mean, does the city, is that in the ordinance? Can we remove a hot tub sign from the back of a park
These guys.
that's not in anybody's way? Can we do
Yes,
that?
isn't it?
To answer to the chair, what you can do is remove anything that's an obstruction or inconvenience to public travel. That's what it says, okay? And public travel includes access through and across the right of way, to get to the sidewalk, to get to the road, to get to your house, to get to the car, to get to the bus, whatever it is. So it's very broad in the sense, and by the way, the ordinance specifies a number of things, all kinds of things. Anything, you put a washing machine, or you put a sign there, you put something else, so it's all covered in this. It's actually a pretty good ordinance, I have to say, except it's not really known, appreciated until you look at it and you say, wow, you can't put anything on the city property without, some kind of authorization.
Right,
That's
but
what it
the
says
city
right
can
here.
grant permission for these signs.
Who authorizes it? Who gives the permission?
It doesn't specify, but presumably the mayor. But prohibited, all signs located within or projecting over public lands and rights of way
Okay,
are
that's it.
prohibited unless the city approves.
It's already there.
Yeah, it's there.
So you got it from the flip side there, and you got it from the direct side of the ordinance. So you got it covered from both sides, and the negative and the positive.
And yet, the city reserves its right to approve signs for placement on public property.
Yes, we do.
Correct, okay.
Okay, I'd like to
So,
make a motion.
if we wanted a sign for a festival, we could leave it there. And if we didn't want a sign for a hot tub, we could take it out. Is that, but because you were making points about, regulating signs by content, but yet apparently the city does have that power.
They probably do, although I would be very careful on how you apply that.
But certainly you could say profit and nonprofit. Any nonprofit would be okay, regardless of content. Any profit would not be okay,
No,
regardless of
no,
content.
no.
You can't do that.
For example,
Huh?
you would be able to put a sign that says to assassinate somebody.
I see.
That's like fire in
Okay.
the theater kind of thing. Or a sign that has a visual, that would be,
Let's go to the extreme, shall we?
well, that's.
I'm thinking Danbury High is putting on cats in September, that's what I'm thinking. That's okay.
Dogs.
Well, the problem is if you start to pick profit, nonprofit, I think you might have a problem there.
Okay.
Yeah.
On city property, okay, on city property.
Now, if it's a community event, that's different.
I'm talking about community events. That's what I
Certainly
meant.
well, if you're talking about something that's sponsored by the city, no problem. If you're talking about traffic signs and all those kinds of things, you don't have a problem with any of that.
Okay.
If the city authorizes it.
Oh, or DOT.
Through the chair, if I may, Mr. Chairman. When you say if it's a city event, what is that? Taste of Danbury, the Ive Center?
Taste of Danbury, the 5K races, those kinds of things.
Those are okay.
City event, city property.
Yeah, well, they're all city-sponsored projects.
Follow, if I may,
Fred, yeah?
to Corporation Council. Do you feel that the document that we have here, the regulations, at this point in time, gives Sean and everybody else enough power to go out and do what has to be done to start clearing up the mess that we have now with signs? Or do we need to call another meeting, which I don't think really is necessary to do this?
You could enlarge it by expanding the existing 1925 ordinance to specify other than the Director of Engineering, whatever that was at that time, to say Director of Engineering and following 2 other people. That would help to do that. That would help. That would be as Colin said, kind of a tweaking of it. But yeah, you have all the tools you need right now to remove obstructions and other items in the public right of way. You have that right now. What you don't have right now is a specific authorization of Tom, Dick, and Harry to do it.
Where is that?
You have the engineering department / public works director who's authorized to do that. And I think you do have the unit now. I'll check that citation statute. I think the unit is authorized now, not only because participants are part of public works, if you will, but also there may be in the ordinance specifically. So the answer to the question directly is, you can do a little bit more, but you got 80%, 90%.
Thank you.
I'm just looking to see, can you show me where it is, where it says that particular information? Is that in here?
Which,
Person that can enforce it?
oh,
Is it in this regulation?
this is the ordinance. It's
Okay,
there.
it's in the ordinance.
City ordinance, code.
Code.
Do you want to expand on that?
Well, I would like to expand what your motion is to what Les just said, to include the Department of Engineering and
/ Public
whatever.
Works /
We can bring you something that enlarges that a little bit. We'll check and see what else might be out there now that we discussed this to some extent.
Appropriation Council could do a study of pyramid.
Don't go in the dark after this meeting.
It would be a sign of your car.
It's the sign of the times.
To your motion.
I would like to make a motion to enforce what is already enforceable. Help me with this, Les.
Okay.
By including Public Works.
So you want to expand the enforcement?
The
The
Enforcement
official is
arm.
authorized to enforce the existing law.
Correct,
Right.
the arm of enforcement should.
Because I think that most of this is pretty much
By
taken
other-
care of by sign regulations,
By
but
other
obviously
appropriate city officials.
by the appropriate city official.
So he wants to return to you with a proposal that expands the enforcement authority on public property, replacement of signs and other items.
No, city property.
City,
On public property,
yeah.
public property.
Public property.
Yes.
City
Okay,
property, yes.
city property.
Right, city property.